Three, two, one, blast off, my friends. We have ignition on Magic the Gathering, Edge of Eternities. Final Fantasy what? Nope. It's all about going to space now. And last night was the Edge of Eternities pre-release event. The local loyal game store had a couple different versions of the pre-release going on. They were doing a Box League Commander, which I did not take part in, but several people I think were going to. And they've got pre-release going on all weekend long, I'm pretty sure. Quite a few people. It was a good turnout. It was not as much of a drop from Final Fantasy as I think I was expecting. As a matter of fact, I think we had close to the same number, very close to the same number playing. So I thought I would crack this open and show you guys what's in here and what I got. First of all, you've got this, well, first of all, we got to find magic among the stars. That's what's up. But, you know, the standard size box, the standard emblems. Of course, these are a little different. You got Warp, I think, and maybe that's Void. Your +1/+1, some emblems. Very cool box with the Ancient Tomb on it. I don't know if anybody last night pulled an Ancient Tomb. I didn't hear anybody say they pulled an Ancient Tomb. But the guys who were opening on either side of me were pulling all kinds of different dual land arts with that cool space text on them and stuff like that. What we've got here is kind of the usual, but kind of unusual in some ways. First off, we've got this spacey black, kind of gray, black, and purple spin down. Very nice. Always love a good spin down. And I'm going to show you guys the other cards I got first before we get into the deck. And spoiler alert, you boys' luck changed last night big time as far as pre-releases go. I mean, look, I'd like to attribute it all to skill, but let's be honest. It's not all skill. Okay, so I won't lay them all out like I normally do since I already built the deck, but just to show you guys really quick. And a little bit of a spoiler, I didn't pull much. I pulled kind of what is normal for me, a lot of different stuff, but there was one theme that was very apparent early on, and we'll get to it. So blue, we've got our Mech and Shield Mate, little 3/2 defender. There is, I notice, a lot of, there aren't as many, it's not quite the same as Final Fantasy where it was so uneven on the power toughness, but there are quite a few in here that are similar to that. And I'll be interested to see how this interacts with Final Fantasy. But Mech and Shield Mate, I'm going to mess all the names up, just heads up. Ilvoy Lightjammer, Ilvoy Operative, Tractor Beam, Divert Disaster, Desculpting Blast, which is a pretty neat style of art and pretty different. Very good card. Mechan Navigator, pretty awesome alien there. We got a foil Ilvoy Infiltrator, Atomic Microsizer, which I'm not quite sure how to use, Nanoform Sentinel, which I did see a lot of in the blue decks I was playing against, and Sinister Cryologist I saw a lot of, and Mental Modulation. So that does it for the blues. I don't think I pulled one rare blue at all in the whole thing. Black. We got some interesting cards in here and a lot of foils. There's, it got all mixed up with my other stuff. Here, we'll try to pull these out because I'm going to talk about those in a different vein later. You guys may just have to deal with it. Hull Carver, little 1/1 drop Death Touch. Virus Beetle, nasty. I probably would have run some black if I had pulled more than one of these, but sadly, just the one. Same with this guy, Timeline Color. Kind of similar to like a Shambling Skeleton, I guess, except for the haste part, but I mean, he comes out 2 for 2, and then you just warp him, pay 2 life, and keep bringing him back. So, not bad. Dark Endurance, pretty sweet. One Last Chance, make it count. Decode Transmissions. Here's an excellent foil. Temporal Intervention. Look at that. And all the detail comes off really rich in there. I'm really, really pleased with it. And the art overall, well, we'll get into that later. Swarm Color. There's another non-foil Temporal Intervention. I was going to say I have a couple Comet Crawlers, a couple Decode Transmissions. So there was a little synergy going on there. Graveblade Heavy, Peregrine Beckoner. That thing's crazy. Hymn of the Faller. Lightless Evangel. Vote out. And this is probably my favorite black card just because that art, like I was talking about with a few people at the table, that looks like that could be an old style Magic card. You know, you also just have to love it. Because -3, -0 till end of turn. If power is 0, destroy it. Okay, we got some colorless, some artifacts. All Fates Scroll. Wormwall Sweeper. Chrome Companion. Nutrient Block. I have no idea. That's a foil. Got at least one. It must be somewhere else. There's another one in here. Pretty big drop. So this was one of the more impressive things that when I pulled it out, just because I saw 5-color card, which does you no good in a limited 40 card deck, but pretty sweet. Infinite Guideline Station, which we will talk about Station because there was some, I think, confusion on that. So I'm going to put this to the side so we can review it. But yeah, rare, really cool space station. Here are multicolors, and I didn't pull a single multicolor in the colors that I ended up playing. We've got Pinnacle Emissary and Mimenon Uthros Exile. Pretty sweet. And the +1/+1s probably could have been useful to me, but I just didn't feel like I had room to splash. Seed Ship Brood Tender. Little Golgari Insect action. Little Rakdos Interceptor Mechan. This is a card I'm very interested in building a deck around, actually, though. A gorgeously foiled Space-Time Anomaly. Target player mills cards equal to your life total. So imagine that in a lifelink deck. Here's some lands, a foil. And this is a good time to talk about the art. Oh, and there's a Sacred, the only dual land I pulled, which is not the full art, crazy space text, but it's still beautiful to see Sacred Foundry again. Check out these foils, man. I mean, those are the same, but... and there were people pulling full art, just regular lands that looked amazing, people pulling those dual lands, people pulling those special ones from the set. I mean... when I started seeing these cards coming out online and looking at the art, I was thinking, I don't know, man, it looks kind of digital. It looks a little too slick, a little too, I was up on the art, and then when more of it came out, I was kind of starting to go back down on it. Seeing the cards in person completely changed my mind on it. The art's fantastic. There are very few cards in here that the art doesn't really make you stand up and notice. The space thing, they did a really good job of making this work together, I think. So here's our reds. You'll notice another theme here. Melded Moxite. Full Bore, which is actually pretty radical for a 1-drop. +3/+2 until end of turn. If cast for warp cost, it also gains trample and haste, which is crazy. Slagdrill Scrapper. Robot Scout. Oreplate Pangolin. These are a lot of sacrifice things and artifacts. Rig for War. Gains +3 in first strike till end of turn. Debris Field Crusher. I think that's the only other... No, it's the... I didn't pull many spaceships. That's one of the other ones I pulled. Another Slagdrill Scrapper. And a Red Tiger Mechan, which is a robot cat and looks super sweet. And then we've got our Tezzeret Cruel Captain emblem. Some robot tokens, some drone tokens, and landers and human soldiers and tons of landers, which was useful for what I played. So you probably noticed 2 colors missing from all that. I basically put almost every single one of them in this deck that I built. And I already pulled the lands out so I could just show you guys what the cards were that I was playing. But like I said, I pulled a lot of basically one color, and the theme became very apparent early on. However, I did want to show you guys some that I was actually thinking about running. I just didn't really think I had a room, and then all the mana cost was already kind of high on my deck, so I was a little worried. But all these white cards are, Zealous Display, +2/+0 until end of turn. If it's not your turn, untap, which is a very common mechanic going on in the white for Edge of Eternities, the untap stuff. This is awesome. When this equipment enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token and attach this equipment to it. It gets +1/+2 and has flying. But I thought it was a little expensive. I mean, it's 5 and then, 3 if it gets destroyed and put it on something. Sunstar Lightsmith. Now these next two cards, I got two of the Lux Night Breachers, would have been great for my deck. It's just like I said, they seemed kind of expensive, and you'll see the other cards I had in green that were kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting these do already, but enters with a +1/+1 for each other creature or artifact you control. Somebody swung on me with one of those at one point, and it was pretty gnarly. Creature Artificer, whenever you cast your second spell with Sunstar Lightsmith, each turn put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and draw a card. Second spell is also a big deal with a lot of the white cards. Now, I kind of spoiled it already. Oops. When I went into the pre-release, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to pull this one card that I want, Ouroboros, and I'm going to play Selesnya no matter what I pull out of the pack. That was my bluff to myself that that's what I was going to do. Well, guys and gals and everyone else, that is what I did. Ouroboros, pulled it in the first pack. And I was like, done. The decision has been made. But I didn't just pull Ouroboros, which became a very important card in my strategy here. Here's my promo, who also did a lot of work, Sunstar Chaplain. So I did +1/+1 counters. And spoiler alert for later in the video, your boy went from barely being able to win a single game at Final Fantasy, like I think 2 out of 4 rounds of 3, to basically tying for first last night. 2-1, 2-0, 2-0, and those last two rounds of matches were just immediately pulling this stuff and starting to crush. So anyway, this guy puts X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power, and that happens at the beginning of combat. So you just keep stacking tokens on this thing if no one can kill it, and then just adding them onto other creatures. Sunstar, at the beginning of your end tap, if you control 2 or more tap creatures, put a +1/+1 on a target creature you control. So you attack with him and somebody else throw it on here. Now I only pulled her out at one point in the whole night at the very end, but this is the only different art that I got on anything, and it is a sweet card, Cosmogrand Zenith. It's really meant more for second spell, but once I had enough mana out and some cheap stuff in my hand, I put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I controlled and just took it over. So yeah, some of the less rare cards that were doing some heavy lifting last night. Sunstar Expansionist did some work. An opponent controls more lands than you, create a lander token, and then the landfall on this gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And nobody really had an answer for it, even though it's just a 2/3. I've got a couple of these in here. Let me pull them both out. Sammy's Curiosity. Gain 2 life, create a lander token, and then you sacrifice the lander and tap 2 to put basic lands on to trigger the landfall on him, and another card we're going to get to. There's the other Sammy's Curiosity. Let's pull out these, because I've got 3 of them, which was another signpost that, like, hey, maybe I should be playing green for sure. Counters. Got a foil on one of them, a Biosynthetic Burst. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, gains reach, trample, and indestructible until end of turn. Untap it. Super sick. Super sick instant for 2. Amazing to use, especially when people are going to try and block you, and you need to get damage in and knock their creature out. Fantastic. Pull the Close Encounter. I forget the name of it. It's basically kind of like Bushwhack, but it doesn't give you the choice of finding a land or fighting. It's just you deal damage equal to the power of chosen creature or card to target creature. Some nice removal for cheap. Let's talk about Exosuit Savior. 3-drop flying 2/2. Common. When this creature enters, return up to one other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Now, the first person I played, and the second person I played, and the third person I played were interpreting this as up to 1, meaning you could choose 0, and I looked it up, and the rule is that you have to return 1. So, it doesn't say may, which is usually the keyword for that, like I know, and like we were discussing last night, but they were all, and I was like, hey, if you guys want to get a judge just to make sure I'm not, I do have to do it, I'm fine with that, and Anyway, so that was, but nobody had an answer for that thing either. Nobody had any flying removal. I think there was one thing that had reach. And once you get some of these other cards out, that kind of didn't matter either. There's another nice one. This is Dual Sun Adepts, and this thing is a 2/2 with double strike. And then with 5 mana, you can give a +1/+1 for all your creatures until end of turn. So you dump some counters on this thing, and this thing was doing a lot of work. Nobody had an answer for the double strike. I didn't end up pulling this out at any point in the game, but target creature gets +1. This is the card that they had to print the change for, I think. Gains vigilance until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. And it's just sick art. That looks like something out of Doom. Let's see here. Okay, 2 of these guys. These were fun. These did a lot of work for me. In a couple of games, I got both of them out. Drix Fatemaker. When this creature enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Each creature you control with +1/+1 on it has trample. So go all the way back down to that Ouroboros, which is putting counters on everything. And things get dense really quick. And there were a lot of situations where somebody had quite a lot of life, but they couldn't take all the trample. And the math just didn't math. Banishing Light, always useful, and came in handy one occasion. Here is the only spaceship that I ran. Atmospheric Greenhouse. And I ran it, and I had it in my hand a lot, but by the time I had 5 mana out, I kind of had control of everything, so I only ended up playing it once, and it puts a 1/1 creature counter on each creature you control. So I never even bothered trying to crew it, because I think the only time I even played it was my last move. Again, this thing dumps a token on everything when it enters, and then beginning of combat, Ouroboros dumps the counters on everything before combat. And then you've got flying and trample with a Drix Fatemaker, and then flying from, or just trample from the Drix Fatemaker, flying from the Exosuit Savior, and it's a bloodbath, man. It was an absolute bloodbath, and it was so fun to finally be on the delivering end of that in some cases. But people put up a good fight. I mean, here's a nice uncommon 1-drop, 2/2 with reach, and when it dies, it gives both people a lander token. Little group hug action. Use Social Engineering. I think I had this in my hand once, and I never really got the chance to play it. Whenever a land you control enters for landfall, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. And I kept forgetting about Warp. That was another one of these things that has Surveil. I kept forgetting I could do. Oh, this guy. Might Form Harmonizer. So this wasn't in the same pack as the Ouroboros, but I think it was in the second one. And it was like right after it. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, double the power of target creature you control until end of turn, and you can warp this as well. So I ended up just playing it most of the time, because the difference is 1 mana between it coming out, doubling somebody else's power, and it coming out 1 extra turn later, and you've got an 8/8 you can start chomping at people with. And again, counters, trample, how are you going to answer that early in the game if you don't have a lot of stuff out there to block or some removal, which it didn't seem like a lot of people that I played were running, so it never became an issue. Here we go. Starfighter Pilot, 2-drop for a 2/2 whenever this creature becomes tapped, Surveil 1, and I kept forgetting to do that the entire first round of matches that I played. This guy. You understand why I played green, right? I played every green card that I got in this deck because it was all counters. It was all landfall. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. Do this only once each turn. Refill your hand and keep pumping the mana and the enchantments out. Galactic Wayfarer. I think I played him once. When he enters, create a lander token. So, 3/3 for 3, but makes that lander token so it aids the landfall. And then Focus Fire, probably the most important piece of removal I had, because when I didn't have counters out, I still had a way to take out something big like a spacecraft, with this thing. So all that to say, the plan that I put in my mind, that I manifested, that I visualized, worked out, and we went Selesnya, green-white, pulled the Ouroboros, and man, it worked out great, because three 3 rounds 1, 3 prize booster packs. We get to open today. Let's get into it, man, before my light, which is dying, completely fades. Alrighty. Hopefully we get something with a dual land, or just something with that crazy space art on it. Robot token, which is also a lander, and they got different art for the landers. It's pretty cool. Alright, man, let's see what our prizes are worth. Frontline War Rager. Control 2 or more tap creatures, put a +1/+1 counter. There you go. Insatiable Skittermaw, an insect horror. Menace Void. Starbreach Whale. Flying 3/5. Surveil 2. Can warp that thing. Oh, Starport Security. I wouldn't have minded having a few of those in there but I didn't end up needing them, I guess, so not a problem. Germinating Worm. I don't know about this particular plant worm. You gain 2 life. 5/5. Nice. Another Red Tiger Mechan. Another Swarm color. Another All Fate Scroll. Litho Breaking. Create a lander token. Then you may sacrifice an artifact. When you do, Litho Breaking deals 2 damage to each creature. That's pretty sick removal. Whoa. What is that, man? Wedge Light Rammer. Create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Station it up. Flying first strike when it's at 9. So here was the thing. The first guy that I played, so he pulls out his spacecraft, he puts it out, and he tapped like a 3/4, I think, to crew it. And he puts a 1/1 counter on it, and I was like, I think it says, and it does say, tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on the spacecraft, station only as a sorcery. It's an artifact creature at 9. So he did a 3/4, and he only put a 1 on it. He said, I'll put a 1/1 counter on it. And I said, well, it's actually should be 3 charge counters on it because you tapped a 3/4. And he was like, no, it's just like, he was insistent that it was just 1. And so I didn't end up playing anybody who had a spacecraft out long enough for that to matter after that. But am I reading it wrong? You guys tell me. I think he should have had 3 counters on it instead of 1, which I think I banished in light or focused fired. No, I didn't focus fire because he didn't get it crewed up. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm saying. Vote out. I think you guys saw that earlier. Destroy target creature for 4. Oh, cool. Our rare is the Lumen class frigate, another artifact spacecraft station. Yeah, put charge counters equal to its power. So this thing becomes artifact creature at 12. At 2, other creatures you control get +1/+1. Dang, that would have been good to have last night. Flying and lifelink is a 3/5 when it gets to 12. And we have another foil Hull Carver. And a cool ass island. Well, hey, those 2 white spacecraft are pretty neat. Round 2, prize pack 2. Okay. Ooh, Shattered Wings. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Surveil 1. Nebula Dragon? What? When this creature enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. Oh, for 7. Yikes. Man, I wonder. That reminds me. There's a Colossus something in here somewhere I gotta dig for. It's a 9-drop colorless artifact that I pulled, and I wasn't going to use it, but I need to find that to show you guys. Gravkill, exile target creature or spacecraft. Yeah. Selfcraft Mechan. Sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1. Target creature, draw a card. Another Focus Fire. I'll take that. I'll put it in that deck when I beef it up for 60 cards standard. Nanoform Sentinel. Like I said, I played a couple people doing blue, and they were running that thing for sure. Depressurize. Hell yeah. Take all those we can get. Ilvoy Infiltrator. Here we go. Another white spacecraft. Big boy. Rescue Skiff. Just goes to 10. Flying 5/6. Nothing else to it. Oh, wait. Return target creature or enchantment card from your battlefield to the graveyard. Okay. Close Encounter. Siege Ship Brewtender. And our rare is the Anti-Causal Vestige. Colorless 6. Eldrazi. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. 7/5, yikes. A gorgeously foiled Systems Override, gain control, space. Yeah, somebody pulled that on me at one point and did some damage. And that's another cool mountain. Well, hey man, there's a lander token. Great White Spacecraft we're pulling here. Let's go. Let's go dual land. Let's get a cool dual land or some crazy art. A couple people pulled the headliners, the kind of poster art. I didn't get one. I was kind of hoping I would just because I think those are so cool. Sliver token. I didn't play anybody that had Eldrazi's or slivers, so maybe that's why I did so well. It was also just like I didn't have to mulligan, I don't think, once, which is not common for me. Nice. Well, now we have 4 Biosynthetic Bursts. And that will also go in that deck for 60 card. Melded Moxite. Comet Crawler. A lot of alliteration. Sinister Cryologist. Auxiliary Boosters. Zealous Display. Galactic Wayfarer. Broodguard Elite. Creature enters with X +1/+1 counters. When this creature leaves the battlefield, put its counters on a target creature you control and you can warp it in. Wow. Sunstar Lightsmith, Interceptor Mechan. There we go. It's not the crazy space text, but I'll take a dual land, man. Watery Grave. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad I finally got... Oh, cool. What is this? Ooh. What is that? Uthros Titanic God Core. Oh, so one of the people, maybe it was Ash, somebody I played against last night had the regular bordered version of this. Planet, yeah, so there are also planets, which I didn't pull any of, and you can crew those up too. So this one, when you add, when you get to 12, you add island for each artifact you control. Nasty. And then an amazingly foiled Divert Disaster, and a swamp. So yeah, that's, I do want to read the text on on Ouroboros just because I love it. It was kind of, other than it being called a plant worm, the thing that, and being a plant the size of a planet, the thing that made me fall in love with it, because it sounds like it's out of like Space Resident Evil. I found a strange vine in the ice, thawing for further analysis. Meltstrider log. Final entry. Yeah. Let's see if I can find that card, man. I ended up with somebody else's divider, it looks like. I must have picked that up thinking it was mine. Lander token. Maybe it got stuck in here. I really want to show that to you guys because it's called like Forgotten Colossus or wait, I don't remember what it's called now. Must have gotten stuck to something. Wormwall Sweeper. Bygone, there it is. I missed that the first time through. Bygone Colossus. Isn't that cool? Robot Giant. A 9 for a 9/9 for 9. Warp it in for 3. That is crazy. I guess just to warp it in and I don't know if you need to trigger something by a creature entering, but I wasn't. Not only was I, after my whole experience with Knights of the Round and all that stuff I was trying to do with White Red, the first bit of Final Fantasy, wait. Final Fantasy. We're not supposed to be talking about Final Fantasy. This is Edge of Eternities. What's that? Oh, bonus booster. Come on. Come on. Who are you talking to? We're never done with Final Fantasy. We're never done with Final Fantasy, alright? Magitech Infantry. Warrior Sword. Cornered by Black Mages. Gubu Gardener. Scorpion Sentinel. Adventurers in. Syncopate. Anime Seymour Syncopate. Queen Braun. Gold Sasa. Cloud of Darkness. And... side quest hunt for the mark. Y'shtola Rule, Cat Druid. Nice. Resentful Revelation, Sephiroth. BAMF in the foil. Foil full swamp. Bird. Alright. Guys, Edge of Eternities. This thing is so much fun. Don't sleep on it. I'm going to at least get one of the Precon commanders because I really want Baloth Prime. But I'm going to get some more cards, man, because people, I think, are going to, until they play it, until they have some fun with this thing, we're in like the Final Fantasy hangover, and already looking at the new cards for Spider-Man, but do not let this thing pass you by. This is a lot of fun, and it's completely different than what you've seen so far this year. I had a blast last night. I mean, hard to say that you're having a bad time when you're finally winning for once, but everybody that I played with was just so chill and cool, and I found out about all kinds of other things that I didn't know about that aren't Magic related but gaming related, and we're going to talk about some of them in a different video. But absolutely, if you get a chance to go pick up a pre-release box or even a play booster, or dare I say it, a collector booster, and get some of those amazing art cards, go do it, because you do not want to miss out on this set. It is something different. It is something wholly unique and very fun. And you know what? I have to take it back. I don't dislike Crew as much as I thought I did, because this seems much simpler. I don't know why, but the whole spacecraft thing seems so much simpler. Get out there, get into some Edge of Eternities, and until next time, peace.